Grammy and Lacey are beside themselves with concern. They seemingly have exhausted all their options. We've tried everything. A summoning spell, a locator spell, even blood-to-blood magic, Lacey says, sifting through her mom's dark magic books. You know Quentin will be furious. He loathes dark magic. That much I'm sure you remember, Grammy says. Well, he's on the road again, and these are extreme circumstances, Lacey says, flipping the pages. Don't give me that look. He let that man out, and now he's taken Caleb. God knows where, Lacey says, flipping the pages more aggressively. Be careful with that, Grammy says, referring to the pages of the book. Family heirloom, she continues. Sorry, I figured he's evil, right? So if we use dark magic to find him, that should work, Lacey says. Soren? We don't know he's evil, Lacey. But what do you have in mind? Lacey points to a passage in a book. A seer? Grammy says, grimacing. I'll summon it away from the house. So technically I won't be doing dark magic in the house. Right? Lacey says. Grammy smiles. Well, your secret's safe with me. But if something goes wrong, it's on you, Grammy says. Across town, Eddie is home, sifting through books. He's been up all night getting visions of his grandfather. He died when Eddie was young, so he barely knew him. In the vision, he saw himself opening a familiar book. He could barely make out the words on the page, but now he was trying to find answers on what was going on. Books on demons, psychic rhetoric, and a book of spells. Suddenly, Eddie hears a voice say, "See." He's startled, but his eyes lock to a phrase in one of the open books, and it reads. He recognizes these writings as Amharic, an Ethiopian language his parents knew in addition to English. In English, it translates as "open your eyes." He's spooked, and he looks around the room. The only other place he remembers seeing this is a small book in his mom's dresser. He remembered it had an old, faded red ribbon tucked between the withered pages. His mom would occasionally write in it over the years. He realized in that moment she always had it tucked away in a bag or a purse or an apron pocket. She seemed to always have it around, he thought. He scurried up 2 flights of stairs to his parents' bedroom. He finds the book, and as he grabs it, a picture falls out. It's his grandfather, as a youth. Long, thick dreadlocks down his back and a full, untamed beard. In the picture, he offered a half smile. Eddie could make out something in his hand. It was fairly blurry, but he could make out what appeared to be a stick with a jewel attached. In the picture, his grandfather sat Indian style under a tree. He could vaguely see trees in the background. He continues to open the book, where the red ribbon separated the pages. A word in Amharic is displayed, and it reads. It's circled and has the number 3 with the letter X next to it. He hears the voice again say, "Reveal." Slightly spooked, he drops the book. But he picks it back up and says, "Reveal," timidly. He pulls the book closer to his mouth, as though it were a microphone, and he repeats again, with a little more bass. But nothing happens. More determined, he yells, "Reveal," and a blinding light and loud thunder booms throughout the room, throwing Eddie to his knees. In an instant, the room grows calm again, and he pulls his hands away from his face and looks around anxiously. "Hello?" he says in a quiet voice. Suddenly, a voice rings out of the shadows. "I'm not God. You can get up," a voice says. I didn't think you'd pick up on the clues. Good job, buddy. Eddie rises and then stumbles backwards to the floor again. He notices a man sitting on the edge of the bed in the shadows of the room. Eddie's voice, trembling, says, "Who are you? How did you get in here?" He says, "I know, I get it. It's the loud boom, right?" Startled me too at first. The man says, chuckling a bit. Eddie, still on the floor, looks at the book, then looks back at the man, who's still partially in the shadows. He moves closer to Eddie and out of the shadows. Eddie could see his dreads slowly fall to the ground as his grandfather rises. "I'm your grandfather, Eddie." "It's true. Look at the picture." Eddie does, and the man in the picture is gone. "See?" he says with confidence. He extends his hand to Eddie. Lacey is found in a coffee shop in a sketchy part of Queenbridge. She hopes to meet a powerful seer who claims to be able to help her. This seer is a parasitic entity capable of seeing into other realities. It could also alter reality. Lacey used dark magic to summon this particular entity. She was assured she would find her son. She's been there now for an hour. A passage written under the spell informed the user to wait. Lacey decides to wait outside the house, which brought her to the diner. Every now and then, she'd look up anxiously, waiting for something to happen. Maybe I shouldn't have come to a public place, she thought. Her waitress appears. "Can I get you anything else?" A teenage girl appears at her table, donning a stained apron. "Where's the other girl?" says Lacey. "Took off," she replies. "Aren't you a little young to be working here so late?" says Lacey, now gathering herself and motioning to leave. "Oh, I'm older than I look," the waitress replies with a grin. Lacey shuffles through her bag, looking for some money to leave a tip. The waitress sits down next to Lacey, just as she's about to get up. "I can help," says the waitress. Lacey looks around, realizing everyone in the restaurant is frozen. "You? You're the seer?" says Lacey, with a look of astonishment. She was a frail girl, looked to be about 15, cocoa brown, braces, and a worn red baseball cap. "I can take many forms," she says. "I'm Adora." "Well, it's unusual for, the form you chose to be in an environment like this alone, and at this time. I take it you're not from around here," says Lacey, now more relaxed. "There are many rules here," the girl replies. Lacey suggests they go back to her place. The little girl agrees. She and Lacey exit the building and hop in Lacey's car. Meanwhile, we find Caleb and Soren in an exotic location. "Soren, what are we doing here? We need to get back. My dad," Caleb says. "He'll be fine. I'm sure your family will fix it," Soren says. "What did you do?" Caleb asks. Caleb watches Soren fashion a pile of dirt into what appears to be a coat. "What is that?" Caleb asks. A sigil appears on the soil Soren prepared, and it becomes a coat. "You want me to wear that robe all day?" "Here," Soren says, throwing it over to Caleb. "Smells like Cheetos." Soren chuckles. "Shut up. I'm serious. What did you do to my dad?" Caleb says. Soren looks at Caleb. "As alchemists, we can change things into, something else," Soren says. "Like you did with that pile of dirt?" Caleb replies. "Yup," Soren says, admiring his new attire. "You're gonna need one too," Simeon keeps it cold, Soren says. What are we doing here? I've got to get back, Soren, Caleb says. Loosen up, man. Look around you. Even with all your family's wealth, I bet you've never seen anything like this before, Soren says. Caleb takes a second to look around. I always said, if I ever get out of there, this is the place I want to be. I thought I'd never see this place again. As a kid, I used to travel there every night. At first, I thought it was just a dream, but it wasn't. It was real, Soren says. Same here. I traveled a lot of places. That's how I met Rose. I couldn't control it at first, Caleb says. Yeah, me either, Soren says. But once I realized it was real, I could travel there at will. And Grammy used to make me sleep with a crystal so she could track me. She thought I'd see something so amazing, so beautiful, that I wouldn't want to come back, Caleb says. Kind of reminds me of this. That's funny, Soren says. Soren? Who's Simeon? Caleb says. Simeon, he's royalty. Literally. He used to show me around this place once I realized it was real, Soren says. Suddenly, a nest of locusts, the size of a small puppy, are headed toward them in the distance. Damn, I was afraid of that. But there's heaven, there's hell, Soren says. What the hell is that? Caleb barks. Run, Soren says.